I'm going to ask you one thing. It's not because you're a heavy breather, but I think where the microphone is placed, we're getting more breathing from you.
It's because I'm eating M&Ms really aggressively right now. That's actually my saliva.
These M&Ms.
Jared's in the other room is what I was going to guess.
I was aggressively. We had our office party today, and I got this massive amount of M&Ms, which is exactly what I wanted.
That was your gift?
Oh my god, guys! I'm not being sarcastic. Thank you so much for the giant bag of M&Ms.
It's a giant bag of M&Ms, and then there's they made this big chalice, it's hold out your palm, and in some sort of how do I
cupping shape?
Yeah, cupping shape, and then make double that, and that's how big the chalice is.
Holy shit!
Yeah, it's this
if
big
I spread
stand.
my fingers, that's almost a foot in diameter.
It's pretty crazy.
Would you say it's a massive chalice?
No, that game sucks, Neil.
So you're listening to Fancy Ramen, a podcast usually about video games, but today we're talking about Star Wars
M&Ms.
Episode 8.
Wait, this is only Episode 8? I'm Cookie.
I'm Scott.
Matt.
That's Matt. Okay, so I watched Episode 7 yesterday, and I watched Episode 8 today. I also haven't seen Rogue One, so I don't know if there was some,
nothing relevant
references or anything.
There's one thing relevant.
Oh.
Does it have to do with Asian people?
No.
Okay, so obviously there are going to be spoilers. We're going to spoil everything, so fucking don't listen to it if you are worried about that.
You've been warned.
So the Asian character at the start was just killed off in a kamikaze-esque fashion.
Just like every other character.
Just introduced purely to set up the sister.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. You're talking about Episode 8 and not Rogue One. Rogue One, the Asian character in Rogue One also commits an act of martyrdom for a greater cause.
Obviously,
but so does everybody else.
Kamikaze, Wait, does everyone die in Rogue One?
That is the movie.
Everybody dies in Rogue One because if they were successful and escaped alive, then
they would be in the other movies.
Episode 4 wouldn't have started the way it did.
Yeah, makes sense. So, I guess before we get into the meat of it, and praise or complain.
Let's start with that scene. What happened to Y-Wings?
They're bombers.
Why
faster than those?
No, we need these giant things that actually have physical. I like the Y-Wings that have just the energy bombs that come out of nowhere.
Yeah, it's like an ion bomb that they just channel through the bottom.
As opposed to this World War II bomber that somehow uses space gravity.
All right, you know what? I was willing to throw that at
I'm willing to throw it out too, but it's just the fact that they got rid of a perfectly iconic design for it.
I completely
because they bring back X-wings and they have A-wings. The other,
I think I thought I saw an A-wing.
There's an A-wing in it.
A-wings are the coolest.
There are multiple A-wings. They're the escorts for the rest of the bomber fleet.
Right.
Holy balls! Are these B-wings?
What's a B-wing? Why are we just naming our wings off of letters?
I'm kind of just Googling wings. And
the X-wing looks like an X, Scott, and then the Y-wing looks like a Y.
And the A-wing is
kind of looks like an A.
So the
kind of looks like an A.
Does not look like a B. That's all I'm
Yeah,
the
bomber looked a lot like a modified B-wing. The B-wing, which looks more like an undercase T-wing, but they probably didn't make it a T because it's too close to TIE Fighter. Didn't really have any missiles or any attachments for that. But this was a right side up B-wing.
Right.
The snow fighters we get at the end of the movie also kind of reminded me of B-wings too, but they're still
sand fighters, sand skitters, sand skittles.
Yeah, Sanskrits.
Yeah.
That scene was great too. Me and Lachlan just kept yelling, because I went and saw this with Lachlan. We just kept yelling, "Now this is pod racing!" When are they gonna say it? And they never did.
it's fair to say that was probably the most pretty or like good looking cinematography of the whole film, was that like red ironish mineral color coming up underneath the otherwise white salt. That was the one thing that I was like, wow, this is really pretty and cool, and this is like Hoth but with contrast.
It seemed like they just kind of shoehorned it in, as in when one of the older fighters is walking out there and his feet are like dragging along the red underneath, and someone has to go and taste it, because I don't know. At first I thought it might have been blood or something, but like to shoe in that stupid ass explanation to be like, okay, this is how we're gonna have this visually cool effect, felt kind of dumb to me too.
Well, yeah, but
Wait,
they
have you ever
needed
not
to
just-
find a way to shoe it in because it was one of the cool things that happened in the trailer.
And have you never just like decided to taste random things, Neil?
Yeah, especially minerals on an unknown planet.
Hey, that planet was known.
Because they're obviously not
Someone-
going to be poisonous.
Yeah,
Well, worst
Plenty-
case scenario, he was trying to take the easy way out.
plenty of salts are toxic. So
Did you guys enjoy episode 7, first and foremost?
sure, yeah, I enjoyed it.
As
Which
a
one was
comedy. Oh, it's at 7, you said?
Yeah, 7.
Yeah, 7, not 8.
7? Yeah.
Which one was 7? 7 was A New
7
Hope.
was no, it was
No.
The Force Awakens.
Oh yeah. I don't know. It's been a long time, guys.
That's my favorite part in the 8th movie, when Rey was all like, the Force, it's awakening.
Or in the 7th movie?
No, that was in the 8th movie. She was
Yeah,
talking to Luke, and she's like, something inside me has awakened. And
Yeah,
I'm like,
and she's referencing the Force.
that's like in the 6th movie if Luke would have been like, it's the return of the Jedi.
Me.
No, actually, no, it would have been the opposite, because he would have had to reference the movie before. So he'd be like, I know you are the Empire, and I know you struck back. Doesn't work with that word.
Okay,
Oh,
so
You
man.
stroked back.
That root beer is really tearing you up.
Yeah.
episode 7 felt like if I was casually watching the movie, it's good, I would say.
How else do you watch movies? Do you watch hardcore movies?
If I think
No.
critically about things, I think these movies are starting to fall apart. Episode 8 especially does.
Wait, you think these movies are starting to fall apart? If you
They've
think
all been
about
pretty
them?
terrible.
Okay,
Yeah,
so episode 4 and 5 I think are good movies, and then episode 6 is kind of a bad movie. Kind of
Disagree
a bad
entirely.
movie. What's that?
4 is not a good movie.
I'm not necessarily willing to argue about episode 4 because you might be right.
Like, you should watch a video about like what they actually intended episode 4 to be. And it was fucking terrible, and that film was saved in editing.
Was it just
Wait, what
like
happened in this
cheesy
one?
70s? Yeah, explain a bit.
Well, like the way it was made, basically, like, there's a lot of stuff on the internet about how Lucas's wife actually was one of the editors, and like made the whole feel of the movie better. So you know how the first time you ever see Luke, he's buying the droids, like, and he's like with his uncle,
Mhm.
and they're buying the droids on
Was that, like,
Tatooine.
After
There's actually
otherwise.
in the original cut, there was actually like 4 or 5 scenes prior where you're seeing Luke like talk to people.
Oh, okay, yeah, I am aware of this. You also get a little more info or backstory with Biggs, and Biggs is set up as like a more
like
important character.
a lot more. So when he shows up later and he's like, Biggs, there you are, you're not just like, who the fuck is this guy? Like you are in the current cut. Like, Biggs, who's Biggs? But yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's so basic and so, what's the word I'm looking for?
I don't know.
It's
Every-
basic is probably the best word.
But I don't think I would say 4 is a better movie than 6.
Which one was 6?
6 had Ewoks and the Moon of Endor.
The Return of Jedi. The Return of the Jedi? Is that what it is, rather?
Yeah, and us finding out that Vader looks like Billy Joel with cancer.
I don't know. It's been too long since I've seen these movies to give any kind of accurate representation of they were good movies, maybe. They were movies that I watched and enjoyed.
Well, it's
Possibly.
incredibly hard to pull apart. First off, none of us got to actually see these movies in theaters because we're too young. but it's also
Yeah.
very hard to extract. And
I'll have
our
you know.
generation of Star Wars movies were not particularly worth remembering.
I was gonna say I saw all the prequels in the theaters.
Yeah, me too. And I don't know if children can have regrets, but those those compel me to think that maybe they can.
Hey man, Jar Jar's just the Sith
but-
Lord, and it all makes sense.
Oh yeah, Darth Banks has always been a fun theory, but like just glossing over it, the fact of the matter is that we're watching these with a particular nostalgia and rose-colored glasses of an experience we didn't even have in the
Wait.
same. What?
You're watching these with a rose-colored glasses.
You know what rose-colored glasses means as a term, right?
I do, but I'm not
Okay.
watching these with these. Don't put words in my mouth.
Okay, sorry. Cookie doesn't wear glasses at all. That's also a lie. I don't know what's real anymore. Anyway, all I'm trying to say is that like it's very difficult to analyze any of these movies in a vacuum, right? Like every single movie that gets added on now has
The
n
baggage
number
man.
of movies to compare it to within the Star Wars universe. Not even accounting for the extended universe stuff, which besides Matt, I think none of us really have much grasp on. And now we don't have to because Disney says to burn all of that and start over fresh.
That's
But-
not true. I think they actually like the Clone Wars CG
Yeah.
series.
The Clone Wars and Rebels are the only things.
Okay.
I've seen Clone Wars. I haven't seen Rebels yet. I want to see Rebels.
We don't call them Rebels anymore. We call them the Resistance.
No, they switched back to Rebels.
At the end,
Yeah.
Yeah, they're the rebellion.
Remember Finn
against
standing
the
there
First
after
Order.
he knocked Boba Fett into the Sarlacc pit?
yeah, that's only Finn, and we all know what like Finn amounts to nothing apparently in this series. He's the
Cut
gopher.
all of that.
Hey Finn, do you want to be a Jedi? No, you can't because you're black. Sorry, we already
Yeah,
have
he
Mace
should've- he
Windu.
sh-
Damn,
He should have
son.
just stayed asleep. He should have just stayed asleep the whole movie.
Yeah. All
Yeah.
right. Okay. Before we get there, I guess this entire conversation started up because I would say that episode 8, like if you think about it critically at all, the movie just collapses under itself. And 7 doesn't have that same issue. It's still kind of at times. There's still some issues if you think about the plot and like the lack of cohesion. But episode 8 falls prey to these plot holes just tremendously. Like the biggest question I could say about the entire course of episode 8 is why didn't they just talk to each other? Why?
Oh, absolutely.
Why didn't
No, but
Laura Dern
I don't.
tell Poe?
I think
Should
that they
we-
both have the same amount of plot holes. I just think that episode 8 hurts more because it shows so many glimpses of potentially being good at times. Like it has a good idea and then it just destroys it with like the worst possible execution. Whereas 7 is similar. It's like the same movie as episode 4. So it's like doing what it can. It's serviceable. They did everything they do could be serviceable. So that's its own baseline disappointment. Whereas this movie had moments where like, yes, they're going to do like a gray Jedi thing. And they're like, no, everyone's just going to go back to resorting to light or dark. So it's like you're having a little bit of hope. You're going up a little bit and then it just tanks as opposed to just staying a constant baseline. This is serviceably mediocre. I like episode 7. So that's why I think that it's different. They have the same amount of terrible plot holes in both those movies.
Yeah, Matt and I definitely came to the agreement. We tried not to speak very much before this, but when we had the transition, and I think maybe it might benefit us to ultimately talk about the movie like in a chronological order. So from the beginning of it to the ending of it, following the plot points that occur at each. But certainly the overarching twist that everybody already knows, assuming they're listening to this podcast after seeing the movie, is that we go from this gray space that's occupied by the morality of our two like main Jedi in focus, or I guess we should say Force users in this case. We have this really cool middle ground that's being explored, and it's very interesting because there's two people in it at the same time, and we get to see the movie revert back to red versus blue. Like all of these opportunities available to take the story in.
So that's like
different
going on
routes.
top of that. That's the point I was making. Like if it was red versus blue the whole time, I would have been like, "This is Star Wars, constantly mediocre and the same amount of disappointing. But then
But
they give you
showed
that hint,
growth, and then they backpedaled.
and they backpedaled like 10 times harder, and that makes the hurt way like triple. Hope makes it worse. Just keep it mediocre or do it right.
Before we like touch upon the first events of the movie and start going through chapter by chapter, if you will, I just wanted to ask the question, was anyone else just disappointed by the fact that you had Luke Skywalker, who could have been that sort of gray or neutral influence on the movie, completely turn out to take one side?
Why would he have not taken one side?
Because he's like the one person who understands that balance within the universe is important, or could have, I guess. Like, ultimately, I don't know what he believes.
No, he totally does understand it. I think it's totally fair to say that Skywalker has a complete comprehension that you can exist between both the light and dark sides and not be completely trapped in either position, because of turning his father Vader back into Anakin Skywalker in the last moments of the 6th movie, where we see him last. We can understand that as a man, he can probably comprehend, like, hey, my dad has done a bunch of really fucked up things as this evil space robot for ages, but he was able to do something that was incredibly impactful and a force for good. And he actually gets to, I think in the extended movies, like, he dies and his like ghost ends up joining his mentors Yoda and Obi-Wan among the I assume among the spirits of the Jedi. So we get to see that it's not a space in which you become trapped once you've picked a side. Like, there's fluidity.
Anakin comes back?
Well, I have
just in the flashback in the Return of the Jedi, or not flashback. It's like the party where you have a bunch of
bonfire.
shitty
Yeah.
images of Yoda, Ben, or Obi-Wan, and Anakin. So before we touch upon that first chapter, I also just wanted to add to the final events of episode 6. Like, apparently Luke Skywalker witnesses this, saves the day, blah, 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 sees his father's sacrifice, and then goes and tells everyone about it. Because how the hell else does some fucking scavenger off of a desert planet know exactly what happens with Darth Vader? That fact alone just makes me think that, like, every character within the Star Wars universe went and watched Star Wars episodes 1 through 6.
Well, it was a big moment. They did kind of just overthrow.
But who's going to tell the events that happened in a throne room between 3 people, 2 of which are dead? And Luke is not the type of person that's going to just, or at least apparently he is.
Well, he did have to tell that story at that party that everyone was at.
Yeah.
And there had to have been at least one bard.
Yeah, I don't find that so difficult to comprehend.
Yeah, I think as soon as Luke he obviously has to debrief with, say,
all the other people,
Han and Leia, and if it goes to
Akbar too.
Yeah, Akbar's the dirty gossip here.
That's the only explanation. I mean, like, that's also something he doesn't have to say, though. It's like, oh, my father turned good at the end. Like, it doesn't matter.
Pretty sure he'd tell Leia.
And that's the only person he would tell. And why does Leia have to tell that to anyone else? Like, that type of
her rebellion hope.
Well, no, that's the whole thing.
Yeah.
Saying that you basically have evil blood in your family is also potentially just as detrimental. Like, that is something that just goes better left unsaid.
But they all knew Anakin was evil.
That's weird. I don't see that at all. Like, you just saved the world. Of course you're gonna fucking gloat.
Yeah, and I totally see the use of it being a propaganda element,
because you're assuming that, like, you're also kind of like assuming that they didn't need to still rile up the population to join their side.
No, they obviously did, which is why they're in such a shitty situation by episode 7.
No, they weren't in a they were not in a shitty situation. That is a total falsehood. The Republic was strong with a powerful fleet,
and then they
just got blown up by Starkiller Base immediately.
Okay. So this much I don't know what happens
from all the books.
Episode
from
6
all the
and
books
7.
and such that are canon now, there's a new Republic. All their ships are docked on the planet that, like, has basically Coruscant 2.0, as I like to refer to it as. They're all there, and they're secretly funding the Resistance to fight the First Order, which is just like some small group of people. And then they all just got blown up by Starkiller Base, and now the Resistance is all that remains.
I don't necessarily think it really matters what position they're in at the start of episode 7. I still think it's just weird that somehow some random person that grew up as an orphan basically happens to know the details of the story or tale.
When are you referring to? I still don't get that.
It's
Oh,
when
are you talking about the very end of the movie where the kids are sitting down and reliving?
No, not that. What I'm talking about is the scene in it's either between Luke and Rey or Rey and Ben, in which she's talking about Vader basically.
Mm-hmm.
And like the
that's pretty
contrast.
easy. Just when they were traveling together in hyperspace, in episode 6, Han told her. Boom.
Yeah,
Or in episode 7?
episode 7. Yeah.
Okay, I can get with that.
Because those hyperspace things aren't just like instant. Those take a long time.
All right,
Nah,
so
man, instant.
starting out with our first chapter, we have the Resistance fleet escaping from their base. I don't even know how to start this. They
We
basically
have Poe, Flyboy, Danon.
Poe's
God.
my favorite character, by the way.
He's the worst character.
What?
He's the new Han.
He's worthless.
He's a brash, hot-headed asshole. And I like Poe too. I should clarify that. But if this movie didn't solidify your opinion on Poe maybe not being the best leader, then I don't know what more evidence you need.
We'll talk more about Poe's development later, and because I think it's also pretty trash. But he's one of the few characters that when I have the critical thinking aspect of my brain turned off, I'm like, okay, there's a Poe scene. I can get behind this. I kind of feel like he's Wedge if Wedge were younger. Like, because at this point, Wedge is probably 60.
Which is dead. Probably. He's probably stayed with the Republic fleet and then she got blown up.
Yeah, probably. That's sad.
Rogue Squad was just probably doing some sort of training exercise, then Starkiller Base shot him. It's a good way to go.
Okay, so anyway, Neil, go ahead with your introduction to this chapter. They're fleeing the planet, and Poe's doing something that you like.
Is it something I like? This part, I think is a moral dilemma where Poe believes that they need to sacrifice some men, more or less. He knows like the dangers of this attack on that dreadnought, I believe it is.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's the only dreadnought.
And the Resistance ends up destroying the dreadnought at the cost of basically half of their fleet, or half of their mobile fighters, including all of their bombers, all of their not B-wing bombers. So I'd say that this obviously starts, I guess, the subplot, which is whether or not you can trust like Poe's leadership or his decision making against that of his superior commander, which is in this case Leia and later Laura Dern, whatever the hell her character's name was.
I don't even agree that Poe had a subplot, though. That's just a Disney lesson they're trying to teach you.
We'll talk about, though, like, once we get to the end of the movie, I feel like that is, yes, indeed the case, but they really fucked up on their lesson.
Because I don't know, because I still don't disagree with what Poe did.
Yeah, I think it was perfectly reasonable as well.
Oh no, we lost a few fighters and destroyed a whole fucking ship and probably thousands of them.
Yeah, we lost maybe
And then the first thing
10
Leia
bombers.
does is like, no,
We
those
lost all
people.
our bombers.
Oh,
like-
and well, that dreadnought too. Weren't they explaining like when I said it was the only dreadnought? I mean it was the only one in the area. But
Yeah,
they mentioned something about those dreadnoughts being like the
Fleet
majority
killers.
of their firepower, and that's what was destroying the base, and that's what would have completely destroyed their transport. Oh, you know what? It absolutely had to happen though. Like Poe's judgment was right, because if they could have chased with that,
yes.
then we wouldn't have this drawn out
Movie.
12-hour. Yeah, we wouldn't have had the movie
Exactly.
because their transport would have been blown up almost immediately. So
But yep, that's what I'm saying.
yeah, Poe's decision was an absolutely
Good job.
essential one.
You know what? Like my statement for this entire movie is Poe never did anything wrong. Poe was never wrong.
Well, I don't think anybody was wrong.
No, I think someone was wrong, and we'll get
Who
to
was
that.
wrong?
So
Okay.
let's just pretend that Rey and Luke don't exist for a while, because we can honestly talk about them after the events leading up to the climax of the movie, quote unquote
Right.
climax. So they end up destroying that dreadnought, and then they end up using their lightspeed drives. I fucking whatever. They lightspeed the shit out of it. Hyperspace.
It's a hyperspace drive.
And they end up in a different sector, only to discover that they've been followed because of some advanced tracking that they did not, comprehend at the time.
Yeah,
That's the callback to Rogue One. There's a thing where they're sitting in the base in Rogue One, and they're like trying to figure out like where are the Death Star plans in this file. And then whoever that girl is, I forget her name. She's just naming shit off, and one of the things she's names is like how to track people through light speed.
Nice.
Oh, okay.
So they've been working on it.
Nice.
It's literally the only callback, and it's also OP.
Yeah, and that's crazy because if we think about it, that's actually technology. Rogue One's before Episode 4, so that technology has been in development for the past like
30 years.
Movies. Yeah,
A long time ago.
In a galaxy far, far away.
Huh.
Okay, so leading up to this point, Poe has been demoted to captain. Not that that matters at any point for the rest of the movie.
It mattered for a joke.
And
It mattered because I don't know what kind of ranking system they're following, but in the Navy, captain is higher than commander, which is weird.
Well, you better join a space Navy.
Space is the big 360-degree ocean. At least that's what Halo had me believe.
Yeah, doesn't most media have the Navy just becoming space?
Yeah,
basically.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, the cavalry just became helicopters. So
after they've been tracked through hyperspace, they now have this issue where they can basically keep out of the destroyer's main cannons or main guns. But they're expending their fuel for 17 hours, I think, at the start.
Yeah.
So they can only do this for so long. And what was odd to me is they talked about how they would be out of fuel if they used their hyperdrive
a second time.
Yeah, although later on in the movie they end up using the hyperdrive even after depleting all of their fuel.
Most of their fuel.
So
yeah,
how far she actually jumped.
Just needed to jump like the 1 mile needed to hit or probably more than just 1 mile, but like the several dozen miles.
2 miles.
Yeah.
But can we talk about that idea first of they can't, like, they're out of range or whatever?
It's space. How does range work in a vacuum?
No, like let's just assume. I can assume that there's like some sort of range of the projectiles. I'm like, okay, I can accept that. Just like how this is like, because all space combat in Star Wars is World War II. I'm like, okay, I can accept that. But so you're telling me that maybe 20. I'm gonna just do heavy numbers. Let's say 30 X-wings and 20 bombers against many dreadnoughts. Well, I mean, one dreadnought and many star destroyers can blow up a dreadnought. But you can't. You're telling me you have to retreat because these ships can't cover you against 3 that are looking the wrong way.
Well, they lost all their bombers, I think, is what they were trying.
But I'm saying, how come the motherfucking Empire people or New First Order just didn't send bombers? Because they were winning. They were blowing up everything. They're like, no, pull back.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, why? Nothing is stopping us.
Kylo Ren literally went into their hangar and blew it up. Now that I think about it, why wouldn't they just drop Kylo Ren into the hangar and have him just walk his way into the cockpit?
He does have the Force.
Yeah.
Well, and not to mention too, like just within his single TIE fighter, he was able, or rather his 2 TIE fighter goons were able to destroy the bridge on that ship.
Yeah. Like, just keep doing that. Like, what cover do you need?
We can't cover you. If they decide to go out in their X-wings, we're fucked.
Does ammo exist in the Star Wars universe with lasers?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
But if we learned anything,
inconvenient.
If we learned anything from any of these movies, though, is if you fly fast enough, none of these stationary cannons can hurt you. Because that's like the basis of all Star Wars is just fly your X-wing faster, and none of the auto turrets can keep up with you.
Like fucking Poe solidifies that rule at the start of this movie.
Yeah, he blows up all the autocannons, which is perfect. I'm totally fine with that. But then you can't go and tell me that this overwhelming military force doesn't have enough fighters or bombers. I'm pretty sure fucking Snoke's ship alone had enough like fighters and bombers to take that whole fleet out in a matter of minutes.
Maybe that's just a huge pleasure ship with like one main gun on it.
Well,
than,
and
than any of the other
Snoke-
Star Destroyers.
Snoke
Unless
himself
they're all
could be
pleasure ships.
strangling people from a distance. I don't know why he doesn't just force choke the crew from inside his own cockpit.
I mean, the events we see later on certainly indicate that force powers can go pretty far.
Well, we've
Yeah.
had plenty of events where force powers are just like, where's this person at in relation? Okay.
Okay, so Poe, the bridge gets destroyed. Leia using force powers.
Mary Poppins.
That's my line.
I know, that's Matt's line. I was crying when he first said it.
She's fucking Mary Poppins.
Yep. Just points her fist back at where she wants to go. And although somehow the vacuum of space has left her body completely fine and not iced over and or completely
Oiled
depressurized.
inside.
Yeah, although she's avoided literally all of the things that we know space will do to you horribly in seconds, and avoided an explosion, I should mention, because she also got blown up before she was even exposed to space.
Hey man,
just
she has
floats
force
back
powers.
in. Yeah, but she floats back in, and then all of a sudden she succumbs to her wounds. It didn't matter when she was in space, but now all of a sudden are a problem when she's on a medical cart.
Hey man, she just used the force for the first time, we think, forever in her life. She's probably tired.
I mean, she
Needs a nap.
basically got a mastery of the force at this point because she was able to use the force to keep all of her veins intact.
Yeah. So anyway, it's just the fact that she survived through that scene still to this moment like makes my blood boil the same way it should
That is
have.
the moment. That's the moment I learned that the movie's not going to be good.
And honestly, they could have had a really easy out when they're like, oh no, she passed away. We'll just do a couple of rewrites. Bam.
Yeah, she's gone.
Done.
But no.
But yeah,
Nope.
they're. I thought that too. I was like, oh man, I really wish they, or not really wish. I wonder if they had this foresight, if they would have recorded enough scenes to write out her character this way.
They could have written out her character. I don't think she does anything else substantial.
But there are
She
so
gets
many
kissed in the
scenes where
forehead
she's
by her
in the
brother.
background, or like part of the
No,
shot.
the most important thing that she did was get the fake dice that are going to be used in the young Han Solo movie.
Oh, that's true. Ugh.
I'm excited for that. Anyway, moving on.
So at this point, Laura Dern, and again, like it was super weird seeing Laura Dern. Maybe just because I'm familiar with her other work.
What's her other work for people who don't know who you're talking about?
Oh my God! What?
Including
So like
myself.
she's in a bunch of David Lynch films,
I was about
including.
to say, I definitely just said, I Googled Lord Dern and definitely pulled up a Lord.
Wait, Laura Dern?
No, Lord Durham.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, keep going.
Anyways, purple-haired Laura Dern basically will not tell the full plan to Poe, this guy that we know as reckless and like kind of a wild trigger here. So Poe comes up with this plan. Well, not himself, but he's presented to this plan from Finn and second token Asian
After he
girl.
tried to desert. After Finn tried to desert. Let's not sugarcoat what black people do. We bail.
Laura Dern is in Jurassic Park.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
she is. That's right. I forgot about that. And by extension,
Anyway,
Jurassic Park 3?
You
Either one of
mean
those.
Jurassic World 2 or something? Jurassic Land?
No, there's a third Jurassic Park where the doctor comes back.
And there's a second Jurassic Worlds where why?
Oh, she is not in Jurassic
Because
Park
the
3.
volcano's exploding and they have to save the dinosaurs.
Because those niggas can't survive on their own. Anyway.
Yeah, so we have our. You're right.
Somehow
we have
gonna be a better movie.
I
we have our
I
meet
don't.
cute with Finn and Rose.
Mm-hmm.
Is that
the
token Asian girl's
completely-
name?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's Rose.
Rose.
yeah. So they get to be the token Rosemance for the rest of the movie. After she tasers him.
And then
And
he
then-
can't feel his body because getting tasered is funny.
Yeah, it's hilarious that he's
Well-
completely immobile.
We're laughing. You hear us, Disney?
Anyway, that's when they put together their plan with Poe that they get some sort. Oh, you know what? That's right. They call back to the lady with the tiny eyes in episode 7. What's her name?
Lady with
It's
tiny eyes.
Maz.
Okay, yeah. They call Maz. Maz is doing
And-
something that
and
seems
it's-
pretty intense.
And instead of asking Maz to make a phone call for them,
She's like, go to this planet and find a skilled super hacker.
could
And
like,
they're
hey
like-
Maz, can you call the whole fucking like all of our fucking allies that aren't gonna come anyway and send them to us, please?
No,
she's
she's too busy for that. Yeah,
By the way, the guy you're looking for, he's got a red flower on his lapel.
that's right.
This is gonna work
That's-
real well.
It's the only hint. Is he
Yeah.
human? We don't know.
Is he human? What color of eyes does he have? Any of this would be helpful. Beard, no beard. So they get sent on the wild goose chase to the casino planet.
For the record, I'm
And-
convinced it's not actually that guy. I think it's the woman that was with him.
Yeah, I mean, it could be, but she said find a man or like find a guy. I thought she definitely specified a male gender
But at the
there.
end, she specifies that is the key, or like that is the way to this hacker.
Hmm.
Touche. But we'll never know because we got
'Cause-
Stutter Miss Stuttery.
Yeah,
That was
So-
rude. I'm sorry.
So
they depart, and then Poe like leads his mutiny shortly afterward.
and
If I remember correctly.
he leads the mutiny only because he's revealed a few facts about the new plan, but not
But
the
he
whole
doesn't
story.
know the whole plan, which is actually a pretty good one.
But to him, all he sees is that they're basically just trying to prolong their escape. Like prolong the outrun
Because his
situation.
commander won't explain very basic and essential details of the plan to him.
Right.
Which is
To the-
really, that was the most frustrating thing, is like, you could have shut him up if you would have just elucidated on your plan, which would have taken another 30 seconds of dialogue, and I think we have the screen time for it.
And sure, this guy might now be a captain after being demoted, but basically Laura Dern's romantic interest in him clouds her judgment, because the guy is still more or less your leading officer in your mobile squadron.
Yeah, well, and he also has the confidence of the crew. Like, he's a war hero from, I guess, like 40 minutes prior in the movie?
Yeah.
Back in episode 7, which had absolutely no delay in time until episode 8. So he's very recently become a valuable member. Well, he already was a valuable member, but he's very recently even proved himself further to the cause, and probably would have quite a few people sympathetic to him, which makes a mutiny very likely if he decides that he's not going to go along with what Laura Dern plans.
And we've
I
already
would
established
also-
that he is indeed like reckless and the type of person that, if you're a commanding officer, should probably take charge to either restrain him first and foremost,
Or chill him out.
Better yet, communicate with him.
But I would also argue that he should have knew she was a badass, because as soon as like her name was brought up and he saw her and he's like, the Admiral Holdo, that Admiral Holdo, like he knows she's a badass.
Yeah, I think part of that was intended to establish like his disappointment and shock at her plan. Like, he thought
can
that
see that.
she would have something better, but because she didn't give him the details that he needed, that's what
second.
ultimately led to him thinking that, he had to mutiny in order to save everybody.
Well,
I
and,
could see that. For a
and on
second, I
some-
thought you were going to say that showed his disdain for her having a vagina.
I mean,
I
he
just-
is
I-
definitely being unfair to her.
I honestly think it's giving way too much credit to Poe as a character, because like he's never had like a true believable moment on any of the time he's been on the screen, like since his first moment, which was the most like, how do I put this? Like the first time you see Poe on the screen, he's about to get interrogated by Kylo Ren, and he's like cracking jokes, and that's just
Yeah,
like,
Poe doesn't
okay,
take
that's
anything seriously.
But it's not that he doesn't take anything seriously. It's that his character is not like believable whatsoever.
Well, the very first time we see Poe, he's actually retrieving Luke the map to Luke Skywalker.
And he does seem very nervous about it, and like I think I get where Matt's coming from on this. Like, he seems to understand the gravity of his job at that point in time, and then he's captured by Kylo Ren and he starts cracking jokes, and it's just a little weird.
Because
But
you can't-
J.J.
I don't
Abrams
think-
wanted him to be Han. That's
I don't
why.
think, but
Yeah.
Han never cracked jokes at him though.
But he did have that cocky attitude, and that's all JJ was all interested in.
And I think it's just a poor execution of them trying to make him into Han Solo.
Yes, correct.
But
Accurate.
you're absolutely right too that like what makes his character most unbelievable is because we have no prior knowledge, assuming like the every person who has not read the books that bridge episodes 6 and 7 together don't know who the fuck Poe is. So just to have some dude come out that apparently has like the thickest plot armor when he's inside of an X-Wing, I don't know. Taking what his character is in episode 8 or has been established as, whether or not it's justified, I would still say that like Laura Dern's approach and the situation as a whole between Poe and Laura Dern, whatever her character's name is just like dumb on every account.
Yeah.
She want that D anyway.
Interrupt me if I've crossed anything too treacherous, but Finn and Rose end up getting away from that planet on an I think just like
Chihuahua.
Wait, is that the planet's name?
Oh no, I'm just you're talking about the creature that they ride out on, right? Once
Oh
they're at
God!
the
Holy
casino
crap!
planet?
You're remembering things that like I had no desire to place into my memory banks.
So the casino planet, I think, is a dumb side story anyway. Like I really dislike it, and just find that although I want to applaud a movie for having like a quick commentary on the like military industrial complex, it feels so tone deaf with the rest of the movie and out of place that it's probably better off skipped.
Yeah,
But Finn did need to find out who he was actually fighting for,
That's true. I mean, that's a fair point. And
because
he
all he
needed
cared
to have-
about was Rey.
I
and
found it
all-
really
needed
I found
to
it really
develop-
interesting that within 30 seconds or like a couple minutes, it goes from the military industrial complex thing to the whole like we let the animal go. That's the real victory. And I'm like, no,
Oh
it's
my
not.
God. Yeah.
Those
Did they
animals
are
even
gonna
live
get
on
rounded
the
up.
planet?
They're literally all right over there, and all the ships are right above you. They're either all going to die, and at the end of the movie, you see they're all captured again.
But it was worth it because Rose will never see those animals again.
yeah. So in
she'll-
Rose's heart,
yeah.
and maybe if she's dead by the end of the movie, which is probably not the case. No, it's
Star
not the
Wars,
case.
probably the
But
case.
if she did die, then she would die knowing that quote unquote she saved the animals.
Hey,
That's why you got to bring her back and let her find out the truth before she dies again in episode 9.
kill the animals, guys.
I don't know. I wasn't a big fan of it, though. I guess they also had to get their hacker, and they also needed to hand over the secret rebellion signet ring to that child working in the stables.
To Crutchy?
Which I have a comment on for that.
Wait,
when we get to
did
the
you
very
guys
end of
catch at the
this.
end of the movie where he grabs the broom? He force grabs it.
Yes.
Yeah, that was the point.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the idea, is that like the
There's-
Jedi are no longer the only people with some sort of force awareness, or like some form
Are
of
there
force
more
awareness that
younglings?
is beyond what mere mortals are supposed to have. Like, isn't it hinted that in the original series that Han Solo has force awareness, but he's not, like, he doesn't comprehend it? This child's obviously like levitating a broom towards himself, so he's got not only force awareness but some level of control over it that is against what we've been thought to believe is possible in the previous movies. Like, not even Anakin he's supposed to have the strongest midichlorians, which I think they totally scrap.
Nope,
At some
still
point in
canon.
time. Still canon, yeah. Anyway, so he's got 1 billion midichlorians, and so he's very force strong, but he's not even force aware. So I think that's what they're trying to suggest is anomalies like Rey and this other child are popping up within the Star Wars universe more frequently, or they're at least paying attention to these characters.
Because they're the hope.
After
Yeah.
seeing that portion too, like part of me deep inside was like, man, I kind of wish episode 9 would just be a 20-year jump and this kid's now the main character so we can just
Absolutely.
put to bed everything else.
Maybe. I don't know. I would say that as many gripes as I want to take at this film, I do like the characters in general. I think the characters are fun and have good chemistry and can be interesting, but the movie itself, the plot and the setting and how it's written just don't necessarily do the characters that they've made justice.
Yeah, you're right.
But-
Ben Solo and Rey really do need to have some fucking fabricated romance just because of a shirtless scene. And all of that character building between Finn and Rey, let's throw that away and let's give him, the Asian girl, the anti-regular Hollywood hottie.
Everybody's got to have his show.
Can't have a major interracial couple. Are you crazy?
If they actually do turn out to be twins, I'm gonna go insane.
Oh god, it's so fucking crazy.
Wait, twins as in Ben and Rey?
Ben and Rey.
Yeah,
Nah,
because
they're
then
good.
it's
Because
but
how would
'cause-
Leia have popped out? How would Leia have popped out Rey without
Knowing about it?
You know,
Yeah,
she
I
wouldn't
mean-
make that mistake.
that's not the stupidest thing we've heard today, you know. Because
Okay.
if they are twins, it's just gonna make me angry because they scrapped the entire EU to just fucking redo the EU with a shittier version.
And the EU's the extended universe, right?
No, it's
Yeah.
Europa Universalis.
I know that's
Because
the problem.
in the extended universe, Jason Solo falls to the dark side, and his sister Gianna has to save him. And it's
That sounds weirdly familiar.
actually I'm not sure if they're actually twins or not.
Gianna, Jason.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
it's been so long. There's like 19 books.
let's get back into the chronological progression here.
So we've left the
Casino Planet.
casino planet with Sutter McSutter.
Finn,
He's-
Hacker, and Rose get onto the Imperial mothership, whatever the hell Snoke's base is called.
Oh, can I comment about when they slid a little thing in the force fields to get through, and the guy like hits the computer like.
Oh, taps the screen, yeah, because it's fizzling.
Do you guys tap screens nowadays when things aren't working?
No, because you don't want to like touch an LCD display. Or sorry, LCD display is a little redundant, but you don't touch an LCD.
You know, and
Certainly don't tap on it with your freaking fingers.
this technology is so advanced for us that their screens are fingerproof impervious.
You mean it's still a glass screen over a cathode tube display?
And those are the rich guys too.
I mean, they have the same spaceships from 1970. They're not doing so great on their budget, I think.
I can't think of anything like that important to talk about in their failed attempt to destroy or disrupt the tracker.
Yeah, who cares? That's not that important, honestly.
Like again, I feel bad for Finn's character because I like Finn's character,
He's one of my favorites.
and
Why?
he just gets
He's
stuck.
one of the worst.
Wait, what do you have against Finn? Like,
He
by far
literally
the
does
most-
nothing.
He's the John Everyman.
No,
of the
I think
film.
you're saying that the actor's good.
Yeah,
The character
John
sucks.
Great.
The actor's doing the best he can with the shitty stuff. That doesn't make the character good.
That
in my
okay, that's true.
opinion. Like I'd like to see him be a real character, and then he'd probably be fantastic.
Which is
But then
why,
they'd
like,
probably
I
kill him.
I can't stand episode 8 because it seems like they have him backpedal on his development from 7.
Oh yeah, that he's back to. Well, he's not back to running off. Now he's
He's running away to make sure Rey
to
doesn't-
save Rey. Yeah, he's,
But
he's
that's
running
all
away
he
with
did in
purpose.
7 as well.
But he's running away with purpose this time.
He never
He's got
would have went to
someone
Star
else he's
Killer
running
Base if it was just to help the Resistance. He went there to save Rey.
away. Yeah.
He likes a girl and he literally does everything for her. That's the most simplistic character there is.
Hey, I've read
That's all.
far more boring books for that.
I know.
Hey,
I'm
I've
just
lived
saying,
that
like,
life.
I'm just saying that, like, that's literally all he does. I don't see any development. he was a guy who just ran away, and then he liked a girl, and now he does everything to protect that girl. That's what he did at the end of 7, and that's all he did at 8. And then it got weird because the Asian girl tried to murder him.
To save his life.
How
She-
the fuck?
She tried to
Something about
T-bone him to save his life. I will say they do pitch.
I'm gonna do that to you one day, Scott. Just be like, look out, Scott! I'm coming to save you. Destroy your car.
They do throw him a bone though in this movie that he does get to fight Phasma or whatever. He settles his score with his old commander.
Boba Fett,
But yeah, shiny Boba
get in the
Fett.
Sarlacc pit. Get in there.
So
I mean,
She's alive. We all
try-
know she's alive.
She absolutely has to be alive. She disappeared.
that's a lot-
without being
That's a lot
confirmed
easier
dead.
to survive than like being in the trash compactor when the entire planet blows up.
Yeah.
Like that's like that. I mean, she just fell. I mean, and the ship wasn't exploding because like Rey and other people, and then Hux, they were like
We're
hanging
still
out for a
alive,
while
yeah.
after. So I mean, she's obviously alive there.
Well, and her
trash
armor is
compactor planet
bulletproof, too.
explodes.
I actually have a question here. Why did they give her the bulletproof armor and nobody else? Like, if
I
they
was
can
thinking that
make
exact same
bulletproof armor, why do they only give it to one person?
It's probably like some sort of adamantium / vibranium
So it's really rare and
thing.
expensive.
Yeah,
So why
only
does a
the Black
stormtrooper
Panther
get
has
that?
access to it.
They should just make an elite force of stormtroopers then. You know, like, let's go
The ones
back
in
to
red?
Republic Commando and just
Well,
give
like
each one of those guys.
if you think about it, Darth Vader had bulletproof armor. He didn't block those blasts with his force. His hands,
Yeah.
his robo hands were just stopping him
Yeah.
because he was overpowered.
Well, and Kylo Ren can just stop a bolt mid-shot, which is even...
Yeah.
That's
So he
pretty
doesn't need it.
cool.
I'm going to quickly say that I felt like what they could have established through episode 7 for Finn was that the dude basically made a conscious decision that killing innocents was wrong. And they, like, had they brought that up at all in
philosopher.
episode 8, it would have been perfectly reasonable for Finn in episode 8 to be more, like, I guess the word I'm looking
More
for is, like, more
pacifist?
altruistic at the start of the movie. But he's not. And that's what I felt nullified a lot of his potential growth in episode 7. They get caught. Rose, Hacker, and Finn get caught because their trash can robot did not pass the, I guess, like the
pass the
costume
smell
acceptance
test.
from another
Yeah.
droid.
And then they have the slowest execution of all time.
Yeah.
Like these people
Oh my
aren't
God.
important. Like there's no need to like interrogate or do anything with these
You
people.
should just shoot them
Like
dead.
it's not like you need like you captured Luke or something.
And
Well,
why
but
do
you
you have
captured
to
a random
gather an
soldier.
entire army to show them this execution? I guess for that matter, they're probably making an example out of Finn.
Yeah, because she knows Finn, because Finn just happened to be in like the most elite guard that he betrayed.
And he was also
Even
a janitor.
though that was also his first battle.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, I just came out of the clone thing.
Oh, holy shit! Killing people's bad.
Well,
Ah!
and so, like, how is that his first battle, and like, why is he this important after like spending his early years apparently carrying a broom around like several important star bases?
Metal Gear Solid VR training. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
It's like, oh man, I bet at some point in episode 9 they're gonna be like, how are we supposed to get in there or know the layout of this base? Oh, I used to mop that place. I know
Yeah.
it.
Nah, yeah, I got you.
I've mopped this galaxy from one side to the next.
Oh, God.
Anyway, so they have the horribly drawn out like monologue before we kill you to give you an opportunity to not die scene. Same time, Poe has been stunned and knocked the fuck out while I keep forgetting her name.
Laura
I'm sorry.
Dern?
Your actress.
Purple hair.
What'd you say? Laura Dern? Yeah. Your actress, purple hair Laura Dern, is sending the rebels down to the geode planet.
Vice Admiral Holdo.
Okay, Holdo. So,
Hold the door.
okay. Is there? I don't think there's anything else important. And this whole time, Rey has been training with, has finally convinced Luke to train her, has trained with Luke, and then discovered some weird shiny black wall.
But before
Wait, are we gonna just
Yeah,
Just
we
gonna
got to go
glaze
back
over
to
that.
the whole plan again. Like Laura Dern's plan that apparently gets the approval from Leia after she comes out of her coma is that by sacrificing the main carrier or cruiser, all of these transports in their awesome fail-proof cloak mode are going to get to this planet that was apparently an old Resistance or Rebel base.
That
Well,
nobody
why would-
noticed they were approaching.
Why
No
would
one
anybody be
noticed.
looking for ships in cloak mode?
Right. There's no reason. I mean, we have a special button that says decloaker, but we only hit that if it's necessary.
Yeah, we only hit it if we think somebody would be cloaking. And they're obviously just running away in their transport.
It
So-
takes up too much battery.
My argument, just to finally go full circle, is that Poe would like this secondary plan was probably necessary to begin with, just in the hopes that it does work. Regardless, maybe you should have put it to someone a little more skilled than, or like a little more competent than Rose and Finn.
Yeah.
That would have been fine.
But then the other thing is, it's like
they've done things.
it's all riding on the fact that the enemy does not hit the decloak button, like the magic
No,
decloak button.
that's. I don't know if you're remembering that correctly, because they only were able to decloak them because Rose
Because
and
of the
Finn
hacker.
brought them in.
Well,
Yeah.
they used
Rose and
the
Finn,
hacker
because they
to-
used the Resistance cloaking
Oh,
to get
so
onto
that,
the ship.
Okay, that
They
makes
brought them.
sense.
So if Poe's fan never happened, the transport plan would have worked.
Yeah.
So in
The
other
other
words,
thing is,
if
too-
Poe had just been told the plan by Lord Dern, it never would have been a problem.
yeah, stand down, Poe. The other thing too that you can argue as well, like if we're talking about military tactics, one of the best things they could have done is launched the transport ships as dummies and kept everybody on the cruiser, or the opposite, which happens, which is Laura Dern stays on the cruiser and the transport ships all flee. Even in the chance of discovery, they have to make a choice on which priority, and that gives you a 50-50 shot of escape.
Man,
Or at
too
least
bad they
the
couldn't have
temporary
left
delay.
Leia on
I
the
can't
cruiser
believe-
instead.
You guys missed the best plan option here. Just take one of the ships, because there was 3 ships. Instead of letting the 2 just die,
Lag
leave one
behind.
person on those. No,
And
do
light
the-
speed
do-
it.
no.
Yeah.
Light speed the first ship that runs out of fuel, so the other ones can get away. Because without Snoke's ship, like the whole thing goes like I
But they-
assume their structure
they
would go
can't
down. They
hit
could
it,
still.
yeah.
But they didn't know it was just Snoke's ship. What's her name? Just kind of aimed for the biggest target when
So
she.
that's
sound designed.
obviously Snoke's ship. That fucking pleasure
Well,
cruiser.
I mean,
They
even
didn't know they were
they
tracked
said.
through Snoke's ship.
Well,
Only,
yeah, I'm fine with that. I'm
only
fine with
Poe
that.
do
I'm just saying, like, why would you just waste a ship? Like, just let it die. Just turn around and light speed at them. Like, even if it doesn't help you get away, you still blow up their biggest ship. Like, that's got to help, right?
yeah.
I
At
wonder
the
if
cost
they
of
could've
one
just-
life.
I wonder if they could have just light speed, light speed.
Light sped.
Light sped.
Light sped. I wonder if they could have just like light sped a small ship, because we do know that X-wings can light speed.
So
Yeah.
that's totally right. You could have fucking light sped anything, like multiple ships into the mothership, as we'll call it. The
But we didn't know that
Supreme
was a
Leader's
weapon.
ship.
until sound design happened.
What was that? Sorry.
We didn't know that was a weapon until sound design happened.
Happen.
Yes.
We didn't know it was a weapon until Laura Dern was like, "I'm a fucking genius. Like I'm the best admiral ever." Times a
She was like-
kamikaze.
She was like, "Wait, I've got an idea." After watching like 17 ships be destroyed.
yeah. Oh my
No,
god.
and that I don't know if you guys know this, but that's totally like that scene happened in a Halo game.
Really?
Well, they actually did it a better way in the Halo game. They just kind of Halo doesn't use, or they don't use, like, you don't just speed up really fast. You open like portals, slip space. They just took one of their hyperdrives, put it on one of the Covenant ships, and just turned it on in the middle of the ship, and the ship just broke in half.
It breaks in half. Yeah.
Nice.
It actually looks the visual looked very similar to what happened to the Snoke ship.
Whatever the fuck it was called.
Okay, so we sound designed kamikaze. Do we talk about Rey's adventure? With
Yes, I think at this point we can now talk about that, because the rest of the Resistance plot is tied in with hers, right?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, basically.
So they hang out on an island for a while, and we watch Luke fish. That's pretty cool.
They play the
Weird.
Rocky theme. She climbs the mountain.
He climbs the mountain, and he refuses to teach her until he's like, "I'm gonna teach you 3 things, girl: how to sing, how to dance, and how to love."
Teaches her the first thing to like visualize the Force, and then realizes that she's evil, and then stops teaching her.
Realizes that she has potential.
That's the thing. That's I like what Neil said there. He realizes that she's evil.
No, that's totally what he
That's-
does. He's like, "You didn't even
I
try
know.
to stop yourself."
Yeah, like I get that, but like we can't say that Luke completely understands the Force and what it like stands for and means if
But
he
he's the
just
only
sees
Jedi
that and it's like
Master.
it's over.
Right.
He's the
only
I just
Jedi
felt
Master,
like
though.
Luke's portrayal as a whole, or not his portrayal, like not saying anything about Mark Hamill, who like I thought Mark Hamill did a great job, and I thought his character was written poorly, I guess.
That one part where he said the ancient Jedi texts to Yoda, I laughed so hard.
The ancient Jedi text Yoda.
No, it's supposed to be funny. It's totally a joke.
I know, but he did it so poor. I felt like it was bad because it was done poorly, not because it was actually funny.
See, I
I don't
liked,
know. I thought it was supposed to be funny, so it might just be a difference of opinion on that.
to me, like I was much more critical of his the early scenes of Luke. And then
When he's just a grumpy hermit.
Yeah, by the end of the movie, I was just like, I don't even fucking care. This is whatever. Like,
I guess it's just my opinion that like he's a character that should not be subject to this Disney humor thing. Like he shouldn't be the one making he's so important and he's like the show. He's the fucking character that's all of these movies are about. That he should not be the one sucking milk out of the teat. You know, his character should be shown some sort of respect. I get like a lot of people make the point that they're trying to like parallel him to Yoda, but like the way they do it for Luke is that Luke was very like he actually seemed like a drunken person. Like he wasn't hiding. Because when Yoda did the stupid stuff, like hit R2 with a stick and steal his hot dog, like he was doing it because he was hiding something on purpose. And then he showed Luke that like this is a Jedi Master can look like this. Like I can be a Jedi Master. Like he was proving a point. He was doing a Jedi teaching through hitting R2 with a stick. Whereas Luke is just like an old drunken man. Like, I don't understand how the world works and stuff like that. And it's like, so that parallel is totally not there, even though a lot of people are trying to say it is.
That's the same issue too, is that just like Luke should, his character in my headcanon should know way more than he's allowed to know in this movie.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing, right? Is Luke was ignorant pretty much to the teachings of the Jedi, and his main amount of exposure is through Yoda with incomplete teaching, right? And then the rest would have to be like discovery on his own through what we would imagine because I do remember correctly, like the Empire, when they execute, is it Order 66? Is that what it is? Yeah, when they execute Order 66, they're erasing the Jedi. Like, you can imagine that most of their texts and other important histories and relevant information is also getting raised. And so by the time that Luke even comes into the picture in this story, and not the story for episode 8, but just in general, like the Jedi are mostly gone. And so he should not have a particularly competent comprehension of what it is to be a Jedi and the Jedi lore. Like,
I just felt that like the time that had passed to what we're at now.
I have a pretty good counterpoint to that, though.
I assumed that it
ahead.
wasn't even so much like book knowledge that he needed, but just a general understanding of the Force. Like he comes up with the idea that balance is necessary, and yet his character never actually follows that same ideal throughout the rest of the movie. Like he's scared of seeing the dark side.
But just think about it this way: he's going through PTSD, man. PTSD.
The fact that Obi-Wan got training from Qui-Gon's Force Ghost to a point where that when he died, he was able to become one with the Force immediately, like makes it seem like these Force Ghosts can train you pretty fucking well.
mm-hmm.
because that was only just discovered. Like that's the shoehorned last thing in episode 3, where Yoda's like, "Oh yeah, I talked to Qui-Gon," and then he's like, "You have to train with him on Tatooine in your future," to the point where he was able to become one with the Force immediately when he died in his disappearance. So it's not Luke doing it on his own. I'm pretty sure he talked to like Yoda and Obi-Wan about all that stuff all the time.
Okay.
And if he doesn't, that's a fault with the current movie's writing.
I'll blame Yoda.
That was one of my favorite things though, was that like, so we know what true Yoda is, but then when Yoda made his appearance in this movie, for some reason he was like the happy-go-lucky hit robot with a stick Yoda for some reason.
Why did they bring that Yoda back? We've gotten so many better Yodas.
Yeah.
I like that Yoda.
But that's not like actual Yoda. That was the game he was playing. And he's coming back and he's like, I'm gonna summon lightning.
Zap. Yeah.
Force lightning. I'm like, how come you didn't do that after you died in episode 5 while fucking Palpatine was asleep? Just be like a zap.
It's really weird to experience whimsical Yoda. Like, I understand that whimsical Yoda was the best choice for maybe that scene because they are trying to keep it somewhat lighthearted in those. Like,
Plus
they're
Luke was being way
killing
too
off
serious.
the Jedi religion, right? They're
Quote,
trying
unquote.
to kill off the Jedi mythos, and so a whimsical Yoda doing that is a lot easier pill to swallow than the Yoda that we know to be like contemplative and intelligent, and having like a lot of wisdom and foresight.
But that
So
was also just
does
a
Yoda
form.
know? Does Yoda know that the books aren't in there? I think Yoda knows.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
yeah,
he
he
knows.
does.
Yoda teleported in and was like, "Oh, there's nothing in here. Oh, Luke's going
The
to
one thing these movies like have to decide is they have to understand what their like character of the Force is going to be, because they keep like hinting at it a little that they're like thinking about doing some like character of the Force stuff like the other movies did, but they aren't, but they kind of are. It's really confusing to me.
Can you define more what you mean by character of the Force?
Well, okay, so the Force is like, so just generally the Sith are selfish. That's what they stand for. What the Jedi stand for, or supposed to stand for, is they're supposed to stand for the will of the Force. Blah 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 blah. Years happen. The Jedi eventually become part of the Republic, and then eventually they somehow become like this political thing that do the will of the Republic as opposed to the will of the Force. So
And
the
that's why
Force,
they
as a character, the Force needed to do an error correction against the Jedi. So that is why Anakin was born. The Force made him to be the error correction, to make the Jedi be the will of the Force again.
By
So he had to wipe out
mostly
all
dying.
the.
Yeah.
Well, he had to wipe out the Jedi and their belief system of them supposed to be the will of the Republic, as opposed to them being one with the Force and being like basically it's
No, I
honestly
follow you.
super.
I
It's a super god. It's like a god religion thing. It's like you're supposed to follow God. You're not supposed to follow the fucking Pope. It's literally all it is.
But the Pope's cool. He smokes weed now.
Does he
Yeah,
really?
but then God will send this devil child to slaughter you. Which is
Fair
what
play.
happens. So so this movie, like Luke was kind of talking about it, and it's like you feel the Force, blah 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 blah, but it seemed like he was afraid of it for some reason. And I'm like, what? Why, Luke? You just fucked up with one apprentice.
Yeah, but that apprentice
talked like I know, but it's Ben fucking
Yeah.
Solo. It's not Anakin Skywalker. Like
yeah.
Obi-Wan was still like a cool dude afterwards. Like he didn't give up hope. He was like, I better fix my problem by trading this next guy. Not like I need. Like if you compare the Obi-Wan's like, oh, I fucked up with Anakin, which honestly he wasn't the one who fucked up with Anakin.
Yeah.
It was the Council, but and just circumstance of war. But if you compare Obi-Wan to Luke fucks up with one apprentice, abandons him completely, and doesn't seem to want to fix the problem at all. And he becomes this
scared.
hermit, and he's like down on himself. Meanwhile, Obi-Wan's still like having a good time, like waving his hand in front of stormtroopers and stuff. And it's like he's gonna fix the problem. I just don't see Luke doing that, especially because how much he looked up to Obi-Wan and how much he like. I feel like why didn't Obi-Wan be like, hey, get the fuck off your ass and fix your shit? I made the same goddamn mistake with a real fucking Jedi Knight, and you made it with some fucking kid and this Snoke guy who is apparently a pussy. Like, just go there and kill them. I don't see what you're like. Seriously, right?
No, you're
Especially
absolutely
at this point where, at this point where the First Order isn't, because some of the stuff with like Darth Vader and the Emperor, it's like it's hard to get to them. They roll the whole fucking galaxy. Like Luke, just ask the fucking Republic. Be like, hey, I need to go kill this motherfucker and his apprentice. Let me help use the fucking fleet. Let's get me there. I'll kill them all. The Republic isn't going to be like Luke Skywalker said this, so we're not going to do it. They're going to be like, okay, we're gonna do it. Let's launch the attack.
Luke's
He
also
doesn't
not
just,
like
like,
a helpless person either. Like when we leave off in episode 6, he's also known as being one of the better or potentially best pilot, aside from Wedge,
Yes.
maybe.
Aside from Anakin, the greatest pilot in all Star Wars lore ever.
That pod
It's
racing,
true.
man.
And it teaches you. But it's just the fact that it makes it, the movie tries to make it seem like it was so over, the First Order so overpowering, like right now, and maybe right now in episode 7 or in episode 8 they are, because the Republic was destroyed, but this has been
But in
going on
episode
for a little
7,
while.
Yeah.
Like the Republic was still around. You could like ask him for help, like, hey, I fucked up with one of my apprentices, can we like, before this becomes a problem and they blow up all your planets, can we like go kill him or something, or like capture him or something?
Yeah, can I just send him an apology? Like, what's
Or-
his phone number? I'll leave
Like
a
let's bring our giant fleet there. Like I don't know, I'm fucking awesome Jedi guy who could just destroy people in battle.
And if
How
I've
come I'm
already
afraid of
bragged
the
about
Snoke
Darth
guy?
Vader, like I'm a fucking legend at this point. Kids talk about
Yeah.
me.
That's the thing, is like he could just like, because he has that legend power, he could have, this Republic that had this fleet, just go up to him and be like, hey, you know that little First Order thing? Yeah, one of my failed Jedi apprentices is with them now. We need to go handle that.
Yeah,
And they're
it'd
not
be a
gonna be
bad
like,
idea to let this stew.
remember the last time that happened? I hope so. So we're gonna go deal with that, okay? Okay, let's go. And then they're all dead within 5 minutes.
So we've been talking about Kylo Ren or Ben Solo for a bit. Can I jump back to episode 7 for a second?
Oh yeah,
Sure.
What were we
There's
talking
that
about?
scene where Kylo Ren is seemingly going to hand Han Solo his lightsaber. And at that point in time, I honestly thought that that was a conscious decision made because they were going to write some elaborate plot twist that him handing the saber to Han was actually allowing Han to like basically go through his memories and to justify his like the fact that he needed to kill his father in order to like deal with some crazy plan to potentially kill Snoke. Although we learned that apparently doesn't take much.
Yeah.
And
He's a
do like
pussy.
a complete role reversal. And just the entire storyline with Ben Solo, this movie just made me real fucking sad.
Yeah, because there was hope of a good thing that they just destroyed. That speech to Rey, I wanted Rey to say yes so badly,
Yeah.
because that would be such a fucking interesting movie.
Oh, when Kylo Ren's trying to convince her to join him.
Yeah. He's like,
Yeah.
fuck the Sith, fuck the Jedi. Let's just build the world in our like way we want it.
See, that's what's weird to me though, is like that's when it totally displays that he's still succumbed to like a dark side
No,
mentality.
not necessarily. He could have
No,
been
he still
presenting
wants
the
to be a
gray option.
fucking fascist.
He
like-
could have been presenting the gray option, okay? Here's the green synthesis option. You don't have to choose red or blue.
Okay. I don't know. It still seemed like a really dark thing to me. I feel like I pick up on a more
Well,
sinister element with that.
But
than
he wanted
anybody
a clean slate, primarily.
else. Yeah.
Like, let's just clean the slate and start over.
And
Which
they
he-
could have chosen like slightly different words here and there to make that speech a little less malicious to the masses. But I
Right.
don't think he inherently
But this is a
is
Disney movie, so they have to
evil.
hold your fucking hand.
Yeah. He's not necessarily evil, even if we're going off the current script. Or he's not on the full dark side until Rey says no. And I think that's what clearly creates the, red and blue side again.
Yeah.
Which
when she
ruined
says no,
everything.
he loses his shit, and he immediately just like doesn't take necessarily a 180, but he certainly backpedals on any sort of like positive character growth that we've seen into just becoming angry and surly about being rejected.
Which is what sucks about Ben Solo. Like
it makes him stupid. It makes him stupid for thinking that those are the only two options available, is this yes-no binary in which they rule the universe together as authoritarian figures, or she says no and he continues upon his path to be the authoritarian figure.
Ah, man.
My favorite part was when he yelled more as they were shooting Luke.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
okay. When they're shooting Luke's astral projection, and he's just screaming like more lasers.
Do you think you got him?
And Hux is all like, yeah,
that's enough.
It's like, dude, come on.
I can't tell if I like Hux or not.
Does ammo matter?
No.
That's the question.
Hux is terrible.
Hux is bad. Why is everybody in the like? Why is everybody in the cast of actually any value 20 years old? It's still a little confusing.
There's not one good person like Thrawn remaining for fucking to help you be the commander of the army. Like, I get that Snoke is only used him because he's weak, but good God.
I was telling this to Scott
weird.
earlier too, but like, why did you choose the guy that is headlining this project of kidnapped orphan soldiers
When he might be younger than them?
Yeah. Like, it doesn't
or at
make
least
sense.
their age. It is weird.
Was he just handed the position after like being really gung ho about this project to like
Maybe
an
he
older?
was maybe he was one of the first indoctrinated, and it just like clicked, and he's like, "All right, I'm in on this. Like, I'll do it too. This seems easy."
I kind of can understand it though, is because all Snoke wanted was it to look like he wasn't the full person in power, and that it was a team, but he actually had full control over him.
Yeah.
I mean,
he's not supposed to be strong.
I felt like Snoke was way more menacing when he was a fucking hologram.
Absolutely. He looks like he's suffered some, like, we have no backstory as to why his head has been, like, slightly split by most likely a lightsaber wound.
We'll probably get that in the young Han Solo movie.
Sure,
oh God,
maybe.
I hope not.
Snoke just seems
what's your guys' Snoke theory though?
Like, I don't know how he fits into the other Star Wars canon. Like,
well, so there's a Star Wars canon that's currently the canon in the books and such, where Palpatine was drawn to something in the Outer Rim, to like while Episode 4, 5, and 6 was going on, and they're kind of using that as like he was actually in a weakened state because his mind wasn't all there.
Because he's fighting off the
like,
Reapers.
Yeah, basically. Well, like there actually is in the EU. There is like a Reaper type enemy called they're called the Voizong or something. They're like these bug people, and they're like they turn Jason Solo to the dark side. But then there's also in the EU that's Thrawn, the greatest Empire general or admiral, I should say. He like leaves the Outer Rim and comes and says, "You can use my services if you just keep me away from there." So like they're fucking building up to like this Reaper thing, which is what they did with the fucking EU. But the whole thing was like people were thinking that like Snoke was this like big powerful thing that had everybody worried, and that's obviously not the case if he's this pussy.
Hey man,
so there's something
reading he just missed the comma when he was reading Ben's mind. Just missed the comma. It's like, yeah, I can see everything this bitch is trying to do. Pointed to the.
But I like the idea that he's a Palpatine clone.
A Palpatine clone.
Yeah.
Huh.
They all can't come out perfect.
No, I feel like
none of them do.
Yeah. His scar
like Luke Skywalker with 2 U's. It's the clone. It's the clone of Luke Skywalker made off of his decapitated hand. He's a dark side person.
Expanded
All-
universe.
That was a weird story. Yeah.
all I know is that like they seem to suggest some sort of backstory that may be interesting with Snoke because of his like horrible wound and how the hell the First Order is even formed. And instead they just cut him in half. Like they don't give him
Well, they
much
cut a lot of
reason at
people
all
in half.
besides to be he's just a plot device to like push things further between
Ray and Ben.
Ray and Kylo Ren. Yeah. Like he is only used as a way to link them together for a common cause.
And as a stepping
Mike-
stone for Kylo.
yeah, absolutely.
One of my questions is the First Order the actual Imperial like remnant thing, or are they a completely different thing? Like they have the same ships and similar soldiers looking,
But did they just
but
capitalize on that equipment being
It's-
available? Is that what you're saying?
yeah, it's like I feel like there has to be a more capable Imperial remnant.
Yeah, where's the Enclave in all this? That's what I'm wondering.
It's oh god.
Hey, actually, here it is. Snoke is Mace Windu. Let's do it.
With vitiligo?
Make it revitiligo. But
Isn't there like
I-
some popular theory that Mace Windu is the
Snoke.
absolute most powerful like person in the Star Wars canon?
I mean, he's Samuel L.
Uh,
Jackson. I wouldn't doubt it.
Well, in George Lucas's scripts, he survives Episode 3, so
Yeah,
take that for what it may.
He doesn't
And Luke-
survive. He gets zapped out the window, right?
Luke meets him and Mace Windu attacks him immediately. And Luke's like, "Stop! I could destroy you easily if I wanted to." It's actually really cool. But
turns out he also
But yeah-
uses both light and dark side of the Force. What?
Who? Mace Windu?
Mace Windu is one. Yeah, that's why Mace Windu is cool.
Well, it's because he
He's-
can like turn powers onto people, right?
He,
But
he's also
purple.
like he uses one of the only like that's the reason why he has a purple lightsaber is he's capable of a lightsaber form that only like a few people are capable of, and that's the only reason he was able to last 1v1 with Palpatine for so long.
Mm.
Because he's like on Force level, he's not anywhere near Palpatine.
But in just physical ability.
Yeah,
Like
his
badass motherfuckery.
yeah, his like actual lightsaber forms are very like different and stuff.
I would definitely watch a Star Wars movie that wanted to go into the background of Mace Windu.
That sounds
Ooh.
pretty interesting, actually.
That sounds so much better than a Han Solo movie. I get that Han
That sounds
Solo,
so much better than Episode 9.
quote, bigger character, unquote, but nah.
Episode 9 should just be after the events of everything, and someone's talking to their kid about Mace Windu.
it's the Princess Bride of Mace Windu.
I do love how Kotar just made like Jolie Bindo like Mace Windu Jr. or Senior, I should say. They're like, let's just make him a fucking black guy who's bald and has a purple lightsaber, but he's kind of dark still. But he's the best character there is.
Oh man.
Wait, so speaking about KOTOR, I have to ask the question. Like, since I did not watch Star Wars 7 until just yesterday, I remember seeing a lot of like early Star Wars Episode 7 imagery using Revan's helmet. Did that turn out to just
Yeah.
be debunked?
It
or
wasn't
what?
all using Revan's helmet. It was also using that the planet he was on, at first it was called Radica Prime, which is where the Star Forge was located. The description of when of why Kylo uses his sword was that it was used back in the Mandalorian Wars. And I'm like, oh my god, please do it. And then they don't. But what I thought was because this director that directed this one is supposed to do some sort of prequel trilogy. But then he's come out and said he's going to do his own thing. He's not going to follow any sort of script or anything. And I'm like, okay, great. Thank you
Oh.
for ruining all my dreams. Like, there actually being a Revan movie. My God.
I wouldn't
So-
mind seeing some proto sabers.
Should
do
we
it.
finish up on our
Yeah, it's getting
chronology
late.
through it.
Yeah,
It's getting late. So I think we left off with Ray's just getting done training, and I think she's made it. Has she made it to the ship? Because are we kamikazing again?
Yeah, she's hopped on the Millennium Falcon. She's left with Chewie. Luke's left behind.
She stole the books. Luke went slightly crazy because she stole
Yeah.
the books. Burned down a tree because fuck nature.
Yeah, I don't think he knew that she stole the books.
yeah, he did not.
He did not.
Because his master Jedi powers, his senses.
Are crap.
He locked himself away, man.
So anyway,
Yeah, but he was using his powers before that.
Which that
So
that
anyway-
at least was a good like. I was like, okay, that's a good decision for him not reacting to anything in episode 7. Like him locking his force powers away seems like something, albeit in this current script, is still kind of dumb. Like that's a cool decision. That's whatever. But really, I mean, do we just want to jump to the end of it, which is
absolutely.
Luke's encounter with Kylo Ren?
Oh,
Yeah.
the ice dogs.
Ice foxes.
Ice
The
foxes.
ice dogs.
Let's throw more cute animals at an attempt to sell more merchandise. Okay.
No, I was really
we did
hoping.
it.
I was really hoping that their lightsabers, or they would see one lightsaber touch another lightsaber in this movie, but it didn't happen.
Yep,
Yeah.
because Luke wasn't actually there.
I mean, like the whole movie, there's no lightsaber touching.
Yeah.
You just want to see
Wait.
swords touch.
Wait, does don't Ray and Kai
Nope.
touch?
They
No.
do not.
Just the tip?
they just touch the staff things from the Imperial Guards, who apparently are like the most badass people ever.
I know they're better
Why
than
don't
Jedi.
I like. They must have been way better than Palpatine's, who Yoda defeated with a slight force push.
They've had some
They
training.
realized that they needed more training.
Were those the Knights of Ren though? Like, I don't think they would be, because they'd be loyal to Kylo, wouldn't they?
Yeah, they were definitely not loyal to Kylo because
Where are the Knights of Ren?
they're not in that throne room. That's all we know. Because once Snoke is snuffed, like if they were loyal to Ren, they wouldn't have fought him. But they had to have been loyal to Snoke to attack him after the execution of after Snoke got folded in half.
Folded in half.
Yeah.
Shit happens.
I found it interesting that they cut him in half, just like Darth Maul.
Darth Maul, who comes
they need
back,
to- I was
baby,
about to say
as
they need
Darth
to-
Spider.
He can come back as Spider guy.
Spider Snoke.
Yeah.
So there's still a chance, because if Darth Maul can fall down a giant engine pit or whatever that is and come back as a spider, Snoke lying on his cushy throne room floor is not that
I
bad.
was about to say, even Anakin was mostly buried in lava and still came back from being cut in half.
Yeah, he got burnt to a crisp.
Luckily, it was
So-
a fast burn, so it was only the outside. The inside was still, rare.
Despite being turned evil from the inside out and burnt to a crisp, he's peachy keen.
I like my Anakin rare.
Okay, so anyway, Rey and Kylo execute Snoke. Everybody ends up on rocky Hoth.
Hoth 2.
Yeah, it's literally Hoth too. There's trenches. We know it's Hoth. The new AT-ATs look like gorillas as opposed to camels.
Wait, were those
And,
AT-ATs or were those AT-MTs?
They're AT
ATSTs?
somethings. They're AT
Oh, not.
sitting on their four knuckles.
Crap. What are they called? They're
They're
AT.
weird.
somethings.
They're
I
either
just kept looking at their
AT-ATs or
weird
ATSTs.
beards.
ATSTs? No.
Their STs are too
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So you're talking about the AT-ATs then on the planet, not in the
Yes.
hangar. Okay.
They don't
the
look
ones
like
with the beards.
Yeah, they have beards and they now have knuckles that they rest on their forelegs. Anyway, that really doesn't matter that much, but
It's very
Kylo
important.
Ren
It matters to me.
fights astral projection Luke. only to find out that it's really hard to astrally project yourself, and it'll just kill you outright. So,
Well, it doesn't
Kylo
kill
Ren
him. He
gets
becomes one
stalled.
with the Force at that point.
Wait,
But
are you
also
sure you haven't seen
dying.
Rogue
which is
One?
also being dead in the corporeal sense.
So I mean,
So-
ignoring like the event, like exactly how he dies, that whole twist seems like a bad twist because typically a plot twist, like your story is going towards point A, and a plot twist happens and it goes to point B. But after this plot twist, like whether or not Luke was there doesn't matter. Luke could have just been killed by Kylo Ren or Ben, and then
Yeah,
it
I
would have been
wanted
the same point.
He could have
Like, I know
gone
I
there,
I-
been physically struck down, and had the same result.
That's why, like, I there's a lot of times where I dislike them copying the other movies, but having him just like hold his lightsaber up as Kylo like cuts him down and he disappears would have been way better than what happened. I thought, like
It
just
is
like
w-
Obi-Wan did.
Yeah,
It's
that's what I
weird that-
hoped was going to
yeah.
happen.
But it makes sense that Luke, his ship is completely submerged and unusable, and therefore, how did he get off that planet in the first place?
Or
He's
better-
done that before.
I mean, like, yeah, he fucking brought up his X-wing in Empire Strikes Back using the Force.
Yeah, but it looked like that one had been down there for a while.
Yeah, it's fucking. You just have your droid smash his head against something and it's fixed.
But he doesn't have a droid. He'd have to use one of those poor little froggy maids.
Who are going to get decimated because
Yeah. Who were fucking, if they got off that planet, they were going to kill Rey. So,
No, those froggy maids are going to die because if you're Ben at this point, you don't know if he's obviously still alive. So you have to go track down that planet now that you know where it is and destroy that planet. So those frog maids or whatever are dead at the start of episode 9.
it's so true.
You heard it here first. I do want to point
Ray-
out though, like we also skimmed over the whole Rose T-boning Finn, like on a more serious level of discussion. Like I'm glad that we get to see Finn in episode 9 or whatever, but also like
I'm not.
if we had if she had just fucking let Finn sacrifice himself, they would not have gotten through the doors or whatever
Yeah.
those walls are. Like that's a
So,
bad decision
wait,
on
would
Rose's
he have-
part.
Would he
Also,
have
why
made
isn't
it,
anyone
though?
shooting?
Yeah. He,
The
didn't shoot down
autocannon
the-
theory.
Go ahead.
You can't. They're going too fast. You just can't shoot properly.
Yeah.
But everyone's going too fast. Like there's
Like,
no
no,
point.
there's
to-
literally one. There's one rebel ship out there, and there's like all these AT-ATs, and they're just not
Nobody's
shooting him.
So is this kind of like the ninja theory, where like if you have a bunch of ninjas, they lower in power, but if you have
Yeah.
one ninja, it's invincible?
Basically,
Huh. All I know is that letting him Independence Day himself against the battering ram laser would have been at least like a noble end for Finn, but instead
I was so excited, like in the movie during that part. I was like, "Yes!"
I was
And
sad
it,
because I like him, but I
And
also
then when
thought like, what a way to go and like do something meaningful
I
and
hope he says
valuable.
yippee-ki-yay.
but then I thought like he got shot and killed, so the plan didn't work, and he died. And then I was like, "Oh, that's super cool," because that's not a Disney thing at all.
Right,
And then-
that's tragic, good storytelling, but
That's like a Game of
instead-
Thrones type move. It's like you're trying to
Yeah.
sacrifice yourself to save everybody, and then you just fail and die anyway. And I'm like, that's like a real like situation. It's like, no, he actually just got T-boned, and they both lived, and they're not getting shot while they're running away.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. That was a
But-
really hard to comprehend scene in any sense.
At least the throne room scene was good
Yeah.
to watch. Use your force powers, though. Come on. Kylo, you could physically stop people with your hands. Why aren't you
it's
doing
not,
that?
It's not an energy blast. He can't stop that.
No, remember he made Poe or whoever that person was. Poe, right? He like froze Poe. Was it Poe?
I don't fucking
Neil,
remember.
you watched episode 7.
He freezes
In the first movie,
Poe.
he freezes the bolt and the person.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Stops Poe from moving.
Like, just do that to these Imperial Guard people.
Which, by the way, is that the
And-
first time we've ever seen like an energy bolt get frozen
Stopped?
midair?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
It sets up
Which is
such a
that-
cool precedent for or at least like
For
a
him-
powerful one for him.
For him being badass as fuck, and then he turns out to be a pussy.
Yeah. Then he starts
ATM6.
punching. Then he starts punching his kidneys, and he's bleeding on the snow, getting beaten by two people who don't know how to wield any sort of baton-shaped object.
Is that like he got a mosquito bite, so he's slapping it so it doesn't hurt or it doesn't like scratch as much?
I've read
I
two
think-
theories, and one is to like psych himself up, and the other one is overloading his pain sensors. Like if you reach a certain threshold of pain, you can't feel much past it. Like your body numbs itself to that.
That's
amount
how
of,
the dark
like,
side
gross
works.
pain. So
Your
Just
powers from pain and hatred. So he's boosting his power level to 9,000.
but he still sucks, and so it's confusing.
I think it would have been way
Yeah, that's-
cooler if they had just forced him to keep his helmet on for the majority of these movies, and then he pulls it off at some point. Like,
Yeah, if he was more of an enigma like Vader, that would definitely have probably worked to his benefit.
But then we went and got
But him
to
not
see his
having on
beautiful
was-
face scar.
we also
Would
like
have been
so
better.
You just write the scene where he has his shirt off, but his helmet's still on.
I wanted to see a scene where he was wearing like a replica Vader helmet.
I'm surprised
Just
he
because
doesn't
he just
have one of
wants to be
those.
his dad. He's like, I want to be like him, or my grandpa. I'm gonna wear his helmet when I sleep.
Papa Vader. Oh, and those are called ATM6s.
Hmm.
Really?
I needed to know.
Okay.
Yeah, ATM6.
Is that the new model of him?
Yeah, they're the all-terrain Mega Caliber 6.
Oh my god, sounds terrible. I wish they would have brought some tote cables out. Let's wrap them up.
Okay, speaking of Force Dice? Force Dice. What?
Yeah, that's for the Han movie.
Never
But-
tell me the odds. I'll roll my force dice instead.
But-
It says try again later. All right.
But why did they have significantly more force than Luke? Why did they have so much force? Luke passed away, and then
Why can a incorporeal
Oh, right, the force dice
projection of
disappear.
him hold dice?
Because they
Did
weren't
Leia
there.
know- Did Leia know that Luke wasn't there at that point as soon as he kissed her on the forehead?
Oh yeah, that's
No.
a great point. Who knows?
Probably was Jedi mind tricking his sister. I mean, he's infinitely stronger than her. I don't think it'd be that tough.
Yeah, I mean she can only just survive in the back space.
Her only power is Mary Poppins. I think Leia. I picture Leia, and even in some of the books, she comes out to be one of those like characters. Like, have you guys seen? You've seen Avatar: The Last Airbender, the anime.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
yeah.
So
I
like
guess
she's
so,
kind of she's like one of those people that is only good when she goes into Avatar mode and she can't control it.
Oh, okay. That's fair.
So she's
When
like,
it's-
I
when
need to
it's
live
entirely
Avatar mode.
innate
Become Mary
response.
Poppins. Yeah, like when it becomes
Yeah.
primal.
Yeah.
She's not like an actual like good
It's
all
all
the time.
instinct.
She's like, I'm only amazing some of the time. I'm not good all the time.
yeah.
I'm the leader of the Rebel Alliance. Rebel Alliance deserves not the one
Rebel
they-
appliance. You know, BB-8 is the rebel appliance.
My
I
favorite
want a
scene with
black
him
one.
was when he like just took over an AT-ST and just slaughtered
Oh,
a few dozen
Just everyone.
people. Yeah, it's like, oh,
He's
that's
just like,
that's
nah,
nice.
son. Did
Why
not
don't we
know
use
they had-
droids? I thought droid armies were supposed to be worse.
They're just unethical. Just
Apparently,
unethical.
like these sort of assistant droids have absolutely no programming to harming humans either.
It's
So
I don't know.
BB-8 is
I don't understand any of it.
I was about to say BB-8 and R2D2 are both sociopaths.
BB-8 was able to activate its killing function after it got fried by Poe's ship at the beginning of the movie. This is like a very important detail.
Oh, that is actually the best theory I've heard about this killer robot.
Yeah, because I can write a better script. Give me Star Wars Episode 9. If J.J. Abrams can do 7, I can do 9.
Isn't JJ doing 9 as well?
Oh God, I hope not. Why?
I think he is. I think it's confirmed he's doing 9.
Fuck me.
And this guy, I think it's called. His name is Ryan Johnson, even though it's spelled
Yeah.
funny.
It's Ryan Johnson, Rian, I believe.
He's doing his own Star Wars. He's doing his own Star Wars trilogy.
Why?
He's also a protege of J.J. Abrams as well.
He also? He was also the writer, I think.
Yeah, he wrote this film.
Fuck.
But he also wrote this film, like from the production stuff I've read. He wrote this film at the same time, but not with the same time that the episode 7 was being written, which is why all the stuff that was cool in episode 7 is just not a thing anymore. Where Rey's all like, "You're just a wanderer," and I'm like, then why did she have all these Force memories and stuff and suppress stuff? And how come Luke's lightsaber just gives you memories for some reason? That's not a thing. Because my theory, not my theory, my head canon, because I could make my own canon, is that she's a Kenobi.
That would be cool.
That would be so much better.
Because if you guys watch Clone Wars, there's a chick that Obi-Wan bones.
Oh yeah, you're right. He does hook up with old.
So
old
Rey's
lady,
half
what's her face?
Rey's half Mandalorian, so she's awesome.
What is a Mandalorian, by the way? Besides what they wait,
it's like
that's
it's a
what you
culture
use for,
basically.
All right.
no, that's Mount.
So I know the timelines don't match up this way, but my new headcanon is Ben Kenobi lit her niece or daughter off at an uncle's house that happened to be on Jakku before the events of episode 4, then gets killed, leaving no one to pick her up. Hence why she's an orphan. Yes, I know the timelines don't line up.
I mean, that could. I'm okay with that.
So
I mean, it would explain why, like, she just has affinity for that lightsaber.
Hags, yeah, because screw her stick.
I am glad that like the lightsaber fighting in these movies is a little less
Flippy.
flip.
I want to be
Yeah,
more flippy.
Less
I want to be
flippy.
more flippy. All the
like
flippy.
I'm a fan
Go
of
barrel.
how they basically directed actors to use the lightsabers like they were claymores in episodes 4, 5, and 6.
I mean, and
I don't know.
Kylo Ren's looks like a fucking claymore.
From like a lore perspective, I preferred them actually using different styles against different opponents. Like Obi-Wan, why are you fighting like an old man against Dooku? It's like, oh, to counter his style because he's stronger than you. Like the stronger person sets the style, and the other person has force to counter with this different style. Whereas now it's just like they're pretending like these things actually have weight. Like at one point in this movie, like I think like visually this movie had the best lightsaber like action I've ever like seen. But like from a lore perspective, I don't like when Kylo has to stab someone and then he has to like pull it out and it's like difficult for some reason.
Because it's a flashlight.
That doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
You are right about that.
It doesn't make sense from like a lore perspective, and I think it sets a interesting precedent from their future like lightsaber battles and like who determines the styles and how the fight goes, because I think that's one of the coolest things, especially with the Obi-Wan's characters, because he has the most like lightsaber fights in all the movies. I think it's like in the first movie you see him with Maul, he's just straight playing to Maul's strengths the whole time and gets lucky at the end. In the second movie he fights Dooku and he's not the one who sets the pace again, and he's countering and he gets destroyed again. And then he's doing the same shit against Dooku again in the third movie. It doesn't work. And then it's only in the third movie, like you can actually see this visually, that like at the beginning of the fight, Anakin's style is the one that's pushing. And it's because, I mean, Obi-Wan doesn't want to fight. And then once Obi-Wan starts using his style, he like beats him.
I didn't realize it got
And this
that
is all
into
in.
it.
It's because he has the high ground. There's one of the best subreddits of this year, I think, by popular acclaim, was one called prequel memes for the Star Wars prequels, and I just remember seeing one where it's episode 2. What I don't even remember the princess's name that Anakin falls in love with. Padme, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
She's a queen. She's not a princess.
Okay, fine. Padme climbs on top of like a column in the Coliseum.
Yeah, and she
Gross.
kicks it.
Yeah, and Obi-Wan's
She
like,
kicks
"What are
him."
you doing?" And she's like, "I have the high ground." And the meme is just like, "Oh, you didn't remember that." I'll have to write
That's
that
funny.
down. Yeah.
That's a good one.
So, all in all, like I paid $6 to see this movie because I caught it on a Tuesday.
I
Where
was about to say, how'd you find a
I know
$6 movie theater?
I know. It's I was surprised too because I didn't plan it. It just happened to be the showtime that worked for me. But for $6, I think this movie's totally worth keeping up with the Star Wars trilogy with. Like I enjoyed it. It was entertaining. The comedic moments landed in a good way. Except for maybe porgs. I could probably pass on them, but I can see how they can be charming to a child or a soft-hearted adult. So it's just I don't know. In that case, it's fine, but it's pretty much solidified the fact that I don't feel compelled to own any like Star Wars DVDs past 4, 5, and 6. I just don't know if there's any value to rewatching these movies. Really,
For me, it totally. I'm never gonna probably see another Star Wars movie
wow,
into theaters.
That's actually a huge impact. I'd say.
Yeah, it's. I don't know. It wasn't fun at all for me.
Hmm.
You didn't have fun laughing with Lachlan?
Like at the movie, that was
Yeah.
more like sadness. That's like when you're like making fun of something that you love, just to like try and psych yourself up to be like it's not so bad, but it's actually your soul is dying.
But don't you feel like obligated to see it now that you're this
No.
deep in? It's kind of like me going to see the next Fast and Furious movie. I really don't want to go, but I've already committed this much time to standing in line, so you might as well.
There's a lot of like I think this has happened to me a lot recently. Like there's a lot of like series that I'm giving up on because of just I don't feel respected as a consumer and as like I feel like I take it more seriously than they do. Like I
Right. So why?
like
why should
Mass
you be
Effect was
paying money?
one, Fallout was one, Halo's fucking getting there.
Hold up. Did Mass Effect happen at Mass Effect 3 or Andromeda?
Andromeda.
Mass Effect 3 was like shaky ground for some people in the last 5 minutes. And
Well, like if we're gonna talk for a second on Mass Effect 3 as a whole, that game was good game.
Yeah.
yeah,
The
and
last-
the multiplayer
the
was
last-
awesome too.
The ending was the ending was you could shit on it all you want, but that's a really small portion of that game. You finished a lot of really good long-term stories in that game
And
that
you could
I
also
really enjoyed.
indoctrination theory it for quite a while.
Right, which I still do. So
Yeah.
it's all great.
Okay.
I mean,
it's-
we all know that the true ending of Mass Effect 3 is the
The red
indoctrination ending.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
let's fucking move on from there.
Okay,
Okay.
so it is 10 o'clock. I'm going to need to go to bed soon. So,
But-
Matt, thumbs up, thumbs down.
Thumbs down. After I just said, do I really have to?
third thumb?
Yeah.
Okay,
They're all
Cookie.
down.
Before you go, my question for you: do you have any predictions to make for episode 9?
For episode 9, there's going to be a moment where Kylo Ren and Rey both see each other. Rey's probably going to win that fight. Maybe. Shocking moment. Luke's going to show up as a Force ghost and. play
That's not
peekaboo
shocking.
with Ben.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. That's the shocking part.
What was the last part?
Gonna go play peekaboo with Ben Kenobi. Just be like, oh, hey, remember me?
He did kind of taunt him, saying that if you strike me down,
He did pull a Ben
an Obi-Wan Kenobi.
in Obi-Wan. Oh yeah, Ben Solo. Gosh, what am I talking about? Either way, I like the movie. I enjoyed myself, and that's all I really asked for.
Scott,
Would you?
You want my hot takes for episode 9?
if you have any.
Okay, well, here's to hoping. I really don't have that much confidence in J.J. Abrams and the script writers at this point, but here's to hoping that what I was expecting to be the twist in episode 8, where it turns out that Rey is actually susceptible to the dark side and Kylo Ren's conflict actually moves him closer to the light. I'll just go ahead and hedge my bets for this upcoming film that no shit, they've totally fucked that. They've ruined my favorite possible outcome, which is where Rey and Ren essentially flip sides on the dark side, light side lineup.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Yeah, I thought it would be excellent writing because it makes sense. Like Kylo Ren is extremely conflicted and has the possibility of flip back, and Rey does not have enough experience with the Force to really be able to resist, say, the seduction of the dark side. But what do I know? So, let's see things that are likely to happen in that movie. Well, it's
I mean, they don't
pretty
have to be
likely
likely. You can just pick out your favorite theory at this point.
Carrie Johnson's gonna die. I can guarantee you that one. Finn is going to have an unrequited romance with Rose, in which Finn still has some sort of affection for Rey, but Disney will ultimately write it off as just friends. Even though I think like if there is any possibility for romance in those movies, like Finn and Rey makes sense. And let's see. Kylo Ren is somehow not going to succumb 100% to the dark side. I think he still has an opportunity to be converted in some sense.
These are the coldest takes I've ever heard.
They're cold takes? What's a hot take then? Shit, I don't know.
Matt,
I told you what it should have been.
What's your hot take then, Matt?
I don't really have a hot take. I still want them to be twins. I don't know if that is a hot take, if I'm just copying. Because Scott's thing of Kylo going back to the light side, it's just the same thing as Vader, so...
Exactly, and I think they'll write it that way. I'm sorry, they're not hot takes. They're the likely absolute expectations.
Yours are all what's actually going to happen.
Yeah, it's because unfortunately it would be the hackneyed and shitty thing to do, and I have confidence that that's where it will go. Neil, we got to hear your stuff. Unless Matt has anything else to add.
No.
Rey becomes evil. Finn becomes a black Jedi. End of movie.
Oh, wow. Okay, so you went for the least likely outcome.
And if that doesn't happen, I'm not watching it.
Okay, I'll let you know, because I will go see it, and I would much rather see the movie that you predict than the one that I expect. But
yeah, they totally fuck up because in the year of like plot twist protagonist changes, at least in games, they could have done it here, and it would have been amazing had Kylo gone or Ben gone good, Rey gone bad. If it was not going to be a gray outcome.
And then Finn go Wendu.
Yeah, there were definitely two much better, more Shakespearean options, and they opted for neither.
They opted for, we need to make sure that, like, I don't know. Like, I'm always conscious now about things like, obviously Rey is the hero of this movie, and that's a good move on social grounds, having, like, a female Jedi. Not to mention our main character, too. Like, it's good to have female, strong lead characters in media. And I don't want to downplay that.
She's still white.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I don't want to downplay that positive side to it.
Towards a progressive hero, you can possibly go like, well, we'll keep it a white person, but maybe she can be a woman.
Putting that aside right now, just her creation of a character is totally the traditional hero's path, you know, or hero's tale. So yeah, I would have loved to see this movie take like a more non-traditional approach, but at the end of the day, Star Wars has really never done that in terms of like your main movies. So right. I can't really speak much for the extended universe and the non-canonized universe at this point.
So I think Star Wars Episode 8 is one big sigh out of 5.
Trademarked.
Thank you. All right, well, if that's it, it's been a pleasure recording with you guys.
Yeah, Matt, thanks for joining us.
I'm just angry here.
that was the purpose of this conversation.
But it was so great having you as a guest.
Miss you.
Angry.
Come back for more hot takes.
And do we want emails on Star Wars stuff? Maybe not.
I mean, we can field them, but ultimately our expert will not be...
I will yell at them.
Okay, we'll bring Matt back in for a special rebuttal episode. If you'd like to send us any sort of comments to later be torched by Matt and his Star Wars expertise, you can send it to fancyramen@podcast.com. No, I'm sorry, at podcast@fancyramen.com.
Scott's me.
Brain teaser. Otherwise, if you're enjoying the show, please tell a friend and help us expand our audience. Is there anything else I missed, Neil?
Don't be afraid to leave a like and or review on that YouTube's or that Apple podcast.
Yeah, cool.
I'm Cookie.
I'm Scott.
I'm Neil.
Matt.
Good night, everybody.
AT-AT.